do, I don't know if you guys were following from a bit earlier, we did a stream. Let me just, sorry, sometimes I forget to turn on the background music. We did a stream a while back where I was drawing a weird, like, Superman. He looked weird in general, but I ended up not doing all the facial expressions. I ended up just doing the neutral ones and the angry facial expressions, which is basically just the eyebrows and the eyes. I think I'm just gonna read what the rest of them are supposed to be, which are, sorry for taking so long, I have it on my phone. Stupid, confident, surprised, sad, and weird. And that's a kind of weird mixture in itself, no pun intended. But yeah, I also just gonna cross it off what we already have, which is the angry and the neutral. So I think the one I'm gonna do next is the sad, because usually I do the sad after the angry. Hi Rochelle, the girl that's now been integrated into the E.I.E. Twitch lore. She should actually get a Twitch achievement for being a concurrent viewer. So I'm just going to use the outline of the head as a way to just pinpoint the position of where the eyes and the eyebrows are supposed to be. There's actually 4 layers that it's 4 layers. Just eyebrows, sad. I might just rehash on why I do the eyebrows and the eyes separately. Just give me a moment. So the reason I do it separately is because within the program we use Moho again. I previously stated, I think I did stated this a lot already, but it's kind of like we save each body part as a PNG and we import it into Moho, and we kind of created a bit of a puppet rig, and with the eyes or just certain PNGs that you group together, you can switch between them. So we can switch between the angry, the sad, and the weird eyes. So we kind of find it necessary to do the eyebrows and the eyes apart, just so that way we can mix the weird, the sad, the angry eyebrows with the other eyes. So it's just fun experiments, and yeah, just working around stuff, being more creative with it, so that we can have more fun with where we just would have had a set of angry eyes with angry eyebrows. We can now have a set of angry eyes with sad eyebrows, but that also kind of creates a dilemma of being sure that when you draw the eyebrows, it doesn't cross over with any of the other eye layers, and vice versa. Rochelle, I'm very sorry you burned your food. So basically what I'm going to do with this is the previous a part of what we did for him. This is how he looked like partially. We finished everything else, the missing hand and the legs. It's just I'm going to erase everything now except for the head. The reason for that being just because I'm going to use the head to draw the facial expressions where it's supposed to be. I'm going to erase the mouth also because we did end up finishing the mouth. I think also something I can do instead is use these eyes as a reference and work over them. I'm just going to add here face sketch in this. I'm going to use this sketch just as an idea of where to place the eyes and the eyebrows. So generally when you draw sad eyes, I'm just going to use round eyes because me and our intern, we discussed this morning, facial expressions, and I also use round eyes as an example just because it's quicker to draw. So you basically just you draw a round eye, and with sad eyes the eyebrow generally crosses like that. And if you really want to kind of exaggerate it, you have cheekbones, and when you make a certain expression with your mouth, your cheekbones lift that certain bit of flesh and it kind of lifts up here. And people have different ways of how they position or express their mouth when they're sad. I know certain people start to laugh. I have family members that's like that. It's kind of funny because you never know when they're sad or happy because they laugh and their crying sounds exactly the same. And sometimes I make the wrong assumption and I get smacked. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. Also, I think when you talk, certain shapes that your mouth take, depending on vowels and stuff you make, also can lift up cheekbones. So talking or not, kind of make sure your eyes take a certain shape. So but again, we're coming back to the situation of the eyebrows and the eyes aren't supposed to affect each other. So I'm going to have to draw the eyebrows in such a way that doesn't really hinder the shape of the eyes. What I mean by that is, with the example I previously made, the eyebrow did cross the eye in this way, but now I'm going to have to draw it like that, which really I don't prefer, but we have certain limitations because of how the programs work. I'm sure there are ways to work around this, I just haven't found out the way to do it. I think what I am going to do for Superman in this case am going to partially lift up the cheekbones to an extent. And then with a smaller brush size, I'm going to add some tears. Again, we mainly talk about this with shading, where we use shading to create the understanding of where, or the general shape of where the shading is on the object. So for example, cheekbones stand out a bit more from the rest of the face, so we make it a little bit more rounded or extruded from the rest of the face. So when I go ahead and draw the tears, what is going to happen is I'm going to draw it from an angle where then it comes back inwards, because as we can see, his cheeks are a bit sunken, and I'm pretty sure that's not because he's too skinny. It's probably just most likely the sharp jawline. But we're going to let the tears follow the shape of the face. And just because I tend to be very lazy, this eye's tears, I'm not going to let it drip down here. I'm just going to let it drip on the side of the face. That way I don't have to worry too much about having to have the tear fit in there. Where this isn't necessarily the correct position for the teardrop to be, but for me personally, it just fits better, or you can get away with it being that. Something to take note of is when I am going to do the outline for the tears, I'm not going to use black as an outline for the tears. I'm going to use white. And again, I'm going to use the smaller brush. But you'll see what I'll do in a minute. Yeah, again, so we did discuss the eyebrows matching with the eyes, different eyes. You can see these eyebrows don't really match with these, so it's important to bring up the other eyes as reference, just so we can see where we need to adjust and change things. Again, I'm sure there are ways to work around this. I just haven't figured out the way yet. And I'm also pretty sure the eyebrows are a little bit too far apart. So I'm just quickly doing the eyebrows. It's the quickest to do out of the lot, because it's just black blacked out rectangle. I can talk a bit about that line that I drew there. It's mainly because in this position the eyes are a little bit scrunched, the eyebrows, and what happens when it's scrunched, there tends to be a bit of I almost want to say a upheave of skin there, so they tend to push against each other, which creates wrinkles, and generally it creates a sort of two bumps on each side of the face, where the one bump would be below the end of the eyebrows and the other one would be at the end of the other eyebrow, which basically leaves this how would I put this, I almost want to say a dimple between the middle of them. So the specific way I draw this is this is the bump on the right side of the face and this is the bump on the left side of the face. So this is why this eyebrow is not really connected to the bump, but this one is, because it ends at it ends behind the bump. So it doesn't end before it, it ends behind it. And from a different angle, if the character was facing the other direction, this would also be true for this one. Seconds. So just what's the password for the stream, or should we just wait? maybe it's because it's not caps. The
Nah.
EIE thing.
Nah, it's just I can usually tell what period in my life.
What? Oh shoot. That's
Sorry guys.
Alright, we're back.
They just let you log in at but it's still streaming.
that's inconvenience.
There you go. You're back into it.
You're streaming like that, you know.
We had an accident. We had a thingy we needed to do, and I got locked out of Twitch. I don't know what to say. Sorry if half of today's stream is wasted. I'm gonna ask oh damn man. I think the whole team needs to come here and actually apologize to you guys. Zayn, come here. We need to apologize to the people for wasting their time.
Why?
Because they sat here like mamparas.
Oh yeah, click on it.
Huh? Oh.
Click this man, yeah?
Hmm?
You're going to give him a mod. So I can kill everybody in chat.
We're giving Zayn a bit too much power here. Fuck, where was I? I have to rediscover where I was. Yeah, okay. You were drawing the angry eyes. Back to tutorials, I guess. So I'm going to talk about again shading with the eyes. When you draw the eyebrows, again I'm just going to do a rough image of this. And then I'm going to take yellow just to represent the shading. So let's say for example the light is coming from this way. This entire piece is going to be covered. The piece between the eyebrow and the actual eye. While at this piece is just going to be covered that bit. Reason for this being is the eyes are a little bit more or the eyebrows are a little bit more protruding from the eyes. The eyes are a bit of sunken into the face. So the eyebrows are going to cast a shadow on top of the eyes. But the eyelids themselves, they have a bit of a curvish shape. So they're not completely flat or indented. So when the shadow falls, they don't really catch this bump that you have here. So that's why that little piece doesn't get any shade. But the reason this one on this side does is because of the lighting going this way, and the nose that's protruding from the face, from the forehead down to the middle of your face. It's casting a shadow that is going to cover up that little piece that's extruding. Again guys, I'm really sorry I was gone for that large amount of time. I didn't know we were still streaming. Twitch just basically gave a message that popped up. Hey, you're locked out of Twitch. So yeah, I feel very guilty about that. I don't know if you could catch that in the background, but Dylan was laughing at me. The sadistic, I was gonna say bastard that he is. we're just gonna keep with the shape. I'll do the shading of this afterwards. I am very afraid that due to certain audiences we already gathered, the streams in the future might get a bit hectic. Just going to go back a little bit of a hashback because because I was gone for a while. I said that I'm going to, for the tiers, I'm going to make it white, and the brush size I'm going to lower that. The reason for that being there's never any black and eyes in the tiers. When it's on the face, when it's in a glass, for example, or there's something in the background, then generally it would reflect that, but not in this case. Also, if I wanted to do that in this drawing, it's just going to look weird because of the art style, but there's not going to be enough space for me to put it in this drawing itself. Also tomorrow, hopefully we won't log out again. If you come join the stream again tomorrow, we're going to do some tutorials. I'm not going to do drawings related to work. So yeah, it's just going to be some basic art tutorials. Also, I did mention this in a previous stream, but something I can tell you, or just want to talk about for a moment, is the pupils leaning a bit more to the right side. Again, reason for that being is the eyes, they're not completely, that's one weird of a circle, they're not completely round. So at the top, you do have somewhat of a layer that protects the eye on top, but the eye itself, it kind of have this indent where is basically the pupil. So when you look from it at the side, you get a more realistic view. Because of the indent, you kind of draw the pupil on that side. And I'm talking about the water view when a character is watching this direction. Obviously when he's watching the other from this direction, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be on the opposite side. Something that I am going to do here is just to create the idea of reflection, and it is a liquid. I'm going to add some white layers into this. I didn't usually draw tears like this a lot of development I do is generally because I adjust what I learned from different art styles. This specific manner of tears I learned to draw from Dragon Ball Z, from the rap battle we did, where I also had to draw different facial expressions for Goku. But at the moment the eyes are a little bit too small to make the tears look the actual way I want it to. So what I did with the tears again, and I did take inspiration from Dragon Ball as I previously said. So they would take part of the shading of the face and use that to fill in the color of the tears. So usually, to an extent, it does work. It does reflect some form of, I want to say reality, but not exactly to this extent. Something that I do want to try is, you know, when people cry, they tend to almost want to say get flustered. The eyes have these red dots on the side. So that's not something I previously did, but just for experiment, that's something I'm gonna do now. I know this looks a bit extreme, but we have a brush for that. This might actually be a bit much. I'm just gonna push the opacity a bit more inward. I wonder, this isn't the brush I usually experiment with. I'm experimenting a lot today. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. So the reason I'm switching between this eye color and the previous one is just for me to get correct colors, and I see for the eye here I didn't gonna get to create one. And also I should have probably extended it a bit to where the previous one so that we can have consistency between them. Let's just do the shading of the eyebrows as previously stated. Again, I'm going to do the shading as we talked about earlier. But again, as I talked about with the eyes and stuff, I can't fill in it to the bottom where it's supposed to be, so I can only put it there because the eyebrows and the eyes can't really mess with each other. And unfortunately it's going to have to be the same with this side bow. Yeah, well, that's not gonna make sense. What I could have done, if it was only these layers, then I could have filled in this bit with the eyebrows and with the eyes I could have filled that in. But I'm worried about how this might affect the other eyebrows in the future. So I can't really do that, which is a bit of, I almost want to say a letdown, but there's not really much I can do about it. So there, that's the sad eyes and eyebrows done. And I'm just gonna save them. Oh, that's a little piece that's should have been filled in. This side also. What I also can actually do is we can cast a bit of a shadow here and here. I don't think that would hurt too much. Facial expression, eyebrows. This is not envy, this is sad. We want to save it as PNG. Save. Okay, saved. I'm not gonna save this one just yet. Something I did want to do with them is kind of edit this type of lines. This is also just to exaggerate that dude is really upset. He's been crying. So I'm gonna save that. I'll save as can move on to a new set of eyes. Let's just look at what we have left to do. So I think the next one I'm going to do is because one of the ones that is most difficult for me personally is the confident one, because it's difficult to present confidence with just the eyes or the eyebrows on their own. If you do them together, it's much easier, but on their own, it's a bit of a hassle, if I can put it like that. So I think for the next one, I'm going to do a surprised facial expression. Sorry, I started off so well this morning, but then the unthinkable happened. I ran out of coffee, so now I'm lagging a bit. So how surprised facial expressions usually work is basically the way I draw it. I think there's, again, what works for you, but the way I do it is just eyebrows extremely exaggerated, lifted up sky high. See, these lines that I'm doing here is just to kind of represent the eyelids, and then you can draw extremely wide open eyes. Like in the within this art style, it'll probably be something not even like that. We should probably dilate the pupils. I don't think we can exaggerate that a bit more. Nose is probably going to get in the way there. So we're probably going to have something like that. So that's just going to have to apply to this face, which again we're restricted by the eyebrows and the eyes that can't really mingle with each other, and with the eyebrows lifted that much and this guy's hairline being a bit in the way, we're going to have to try and work around that. So there's going to be some trial and error concerning this. So the way I would like to do this is I just hide the eyebrow behind the hair. We can actually also, what we can do is we kind of create a wrinkle up there above the eyebrow, as it does tend to push up the skin. Again, I'm just working with smaller brush size now. I am going to, just because of consistency, afterwards I am going to use a thicker brush for this. again, it would be much easier if I could just do this, but then it won't, we can't use it then with this normal. So I think I'm going to have to rely a lot on this lower piece to round out the eye.
Playing it more before. Thought of it, but I wasn't in the frame.
Nah, only Zane can do that. Yeah, the guys at the office are going to try and do their best to steal the spotlight from me, especially Zane. Yeah, so I did realize I drew on the wrong layer. Just going to use that to my advantage. My banana. Come again? Ooh. Sorry, just a quick conversation with Zane. I think I'm just gonna start with the eyes at the moment. Again, just using the regular brush size for consistency. Luckily, this specific facial expression isn't too complex. If I manage to finish up these facial expressions before the end of the stream, we can maybe do some early tutorials. I think for the eyebrows, again, the top, we're going to keep that big shape. Well, this is a little bit thinner than what it's supposed to be, but we don't have that much room to compromise. So for some of the lines, for the rest of the lines, I'm just going to use the smaller brush because, again, there's not much room to work or compromise with here. I'm gonna pull up the previous outline of the head if I can find it. Yeah, now the actual outline of the head was a bit different than that of the sketch, so I'm just gonna fill this in. Still kind of creates the general idea of what we're aiming for. That's probably a bit of a mistake. So again, as I talked about the eyelid on the right side of the drawing, his left side is going to have a bit of a bump because of the shape. But because of the eyelid here, it's going to be black before that. Then I'll just maybe cover it in like that. And this one, as I also said, is generally just blacked out. And I'm not going to worry too much about where I stop with it at this point, because with this head's color, we already kind of have an idea of where the shading stops. This hair is making it a bit difficult for me to work with. Oh well. Afterwards, we're just going to reveal the previous eye and eyebrow layers to just see if everything fits the way it should. And if it does, we can just continue with it and save it. One thing I do despise about this brush, despite me using it a lot, is there's no pressure sensitivity on it. Oh, Michelle, I'm glad you're only back now. There was a little bit where the stream was, I was gonna say, kind of up on a pause, but that's a story for another time. I did profusely apologize. Okay, that's the shading done with the eyes, I think. I would actually like to add shading here, but again, because the sunlight is coming from this direction, the shading would end up being a bit more here. It's not going to be visible enough for me to focus on it. And for the eyes themselves, I think I'm just going to keep the general color of the eyes. Or the general white, if I can put it like that. Again, if you have any questions, you can just ask and I'll try my best to answer them. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. We can save these. I'm just going to make sure that the eyebrows doesn't mix with any of the other eyes. That one's fine. That one's fine. That's fine. And we'll just check the same with the eyes, that it doesn't mix with any of the other eyebrows. That one, a little bit pink. Yeah, I think we should probably cut down the color here. Well, not to color, the outline. Very unfortunate. Not really something I was keen to do, but just gonna have to make sacrifices in life, you know. That one still works. Does that one works? And also not quite, unfortunately. So again, I think I'm gonna have to cut away some of it. Again, very unfortunate. This is not something I would have preferred to happen, but oh well. There's a lot of trial and error and, truth be told, hassle with this. Oh, Rushal, you really didn't miss much. There was almost like an entire section where Twitch logs me out, and I was waiting for Dewald and Dylan to give me the password to our Twitch again. But I didn't realize we were still streaming, so you really didn't miss much. There was an entire section I was gone. Yeah, this is a very tedious part of the process, not progress. So now again we have to work on the next set of eyes. And tick this one off of the box. So we only have 3 left, which is basically stupid, confident, and weird. The stupid and weird one are easy to do, but at the same time they're also a bit difficult. The reason for that being is they more often than not look a lot alike. So yeah, that's just basically the reason. So I'm just gonna pull up the head outline again and the layer we use for sketching. I think this time we're just gonna use yellow for it. I almost think I want to do the confidence one now. The thing is with confidence, it's very difficult to just express confidence with just the eyes or just the eyebrows. So this is the part where I look up a bunch of references. Sorry, this is something an artist does do. Is we look up references. And this was especially difficult back then because I tried to make each facial expression different with each character, and with confidence already being as difficult as it is, yeah, it was a difficult process to think of multiple ways to express the facial expression of confidence. It's also kind of difficult because usually confidence consists eyebrows wise. I would imagine something like this. Sorry, proportion wise this isn't. But the thing is, when you take away the eyes, well then it's a bit big. This can be viewed as confusion. Or when you take away the eyebrows, this can just be considered whatever. It doesn't necessarily convey the message of confidence. So sometimes you just kind of have to wing it, which I think that's basically what I'm gonna do now. It's really difficult to actually do it, but I think as long as Daniël knows what it is through naming, then it doesn't really matter all that much. Also, confidence kind of have a correlation with being smug. So usually when I do it, I kind of try to replicate that kind of facial expression. can see, I try to stay within the boundaries of the neutral eyebrows, because those are a great reference for me to understand where the borders are of the eyes and the eyebrows. This is something that happens quite often. I do draw on the wrong layer. I ask forgiveness. Luckily within Critter, I can just copy the names without worrying. Like Windows files, you can't have two files with the same name within the same folder. Otherwise, it's gonna kick up some error message where you have to overwrite the one with the other. So luckily I don't have to do that. I can just rename them. And then after that I use for do this eyebrows, I'm just gonna delete that layer again. I'm not sure if tomorrow is tutorials with Daniel or banters with Daniel, but when the next tutorials with Daniel episode does pop up, you'll see I'm not going to use this brush. This brush is purely for within EIE projects wise, and you can clearly see me doing this chicken scratches with the brush, because due to the nature of this brush, basically you're kind of stuck doing that. See, the chat is a bit kind of busy at the moment. say I know these moments of silence can be a bit boring, so I try to keep conversation. Well, those eyes are not looking very good. I'm just gonna fix it by doing that.
That's more like the extraction.
Yeah, it's basically like a
Okay.
actually a very very good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed it for a while, but then I played it very quick.
Me too.
But to that point where it's just grind to get your next step.
Yeah.
Get five bosses. You just need to find a boss.
Okay, again, it's just. Oh, this is the fun thing I've tried. So I don't know how many other drawing programs does this because I don't really use them. But
So
here on the side you can see there's all the colors we previously used, so you don't have to go back and forth trying to find the color you did use or go to previous layers and drop that color like I previously did. And the reason I did that was because I forgot this was at the top here, so that's just my own stupidity to an extent. But since there's so many blues here, I'm actually going to have to go back and but luckily with the I think this one, this specific blue what was that one that was a bit of a darker shade?
Would you like some more?
No, thank you. I'm
Would you
fine
like
for
more
now.
Germany?
I'm fine for now. Thank you.
Cool. Just making sure you're good.
Vishal, the custom stickers, we're still working on that one, but you can rest assured it will happen eventually. Okay. Yeah, there is going to be a custom sticker of Zayn with lasagna, so you guys don't have to worry about that. mainly because of the eyes and eyebrows having to match with other versions of them. But with this one, I can do it. Okay, that's a bit too. Let me just check if I actually can, because there's a shocked eyebrow version. So I'll keep it to this. Let's check again. Yeah, I think that's for the most part fine. Then just go back to fix that. Yeah, I think that's perfect for now. I'm just gonna save them separately. The mic isn't completely facing my way, so this is the eyes, surprised, confidence. Um, that's a mistake. I don't know why I scratched it accidentally. I'm just going to go to the file, call this browse. Okay, I can just check this off. Just give me another moment.